Santa Monica is an amazing place. It's iconic. It's a destination point for millions of visitors every year.
It's a place many people would enjoy living. A seaside city, you have Santa Monica Mountains on the north, Los Angeles on the east and south.
The sun shines bright. We've got beautiful beaches. There's the fascinating Santa Monica Pier.
You can bike or walk or roller skate for miles.
The situation here in Santa Monica, California is very fluid. You can see police here now firing tear gas into the crowd. They are trying to push these folks back.
We saw the smoke, and then we saw the results of nearby demonstrators who had inhaled that gas and were running away. And what I felt in that moment was, my God, it's Minneapolis everywhere.
Fire that appears to be up above, but this is the Saki house here. And I should describe the scene a little bit. On the other side of where the pier is at, that's where the protest was happening, and that was a peaceful protest. Those protesters didn't even know what was happening over here.
Here we go again. They just overreacting because everyone around us was peaceful. Of course, we were shouting, enough is enough. We were shouting the names of the victims. Of course, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, just went through all of the names, but everybody was angry but peaceful. Nobody was destroying any property or doing anything, but the police were suiting up like they were preparing for it.
One of the most, I guess, terrifying moments of that is I was on the phone, like I said, with my cousin, and one of our friends had been shot. She was talking to the officers and was like, okay, cool. Don't do anything. Let me go back over here and talk to, the group and say, hey, it's time to go. And was heading back to talk to the group. She got shot from behind. And so what's interesting in that is she knew the people that shot her because she grew up in PAL, the Police Athletic Association. She grew up in the after-school program.
It's only 8.3 square miles. They basically know who's in the community. They know who's in the neighborhood. So the fact that they were harassing and shooting at community people, I was just outraged.
Get out of the way!
People were injured unnecessarily as a result of an incompetent police response to something that not only could have been predicted to occur, it was predicted to occur, and all the warning signs were ignored.
I think the problem that we saw yesterday is that local law enforcement was really focused on one part of town where peaceful protests were underway. They were keeping an eye on that crowd, and then just in this business district a couple blocks away is when the looting started. So officers were trying to kind of get from one area of town to respond to this area, but really there weren't enough of them. This is a very busy business area, not only for people who live in this area, it's a couple blocks from the beach, so it's a very popular tourist area. So what we saw yesterday was local law enforcement kind of overwhelmed. The hope is now that the National Guard is here, that maybe more of a force will help this from being repeated.
What was most injured that day was the First Amendment and our community's values. Because the people of Santa Monica ardently believe in the First Amendment, and the people of Santa Monica do not want to see lawful protesters treated in the way these lawful protesters were treated.
The night was extremely tense. You could hear the helicopters. The air smelled different. It just felt different, very different Santa Monica.
The entire city was impacted by the events of May 31st. In a stressful situation, organizations are tested, and the police department revealed a lot of challenges and flaws that day. and they've never been resolved. There were violations of policy, there was misconduct, there was examples where people are poorly trained, there was poor management, there was poor leadership. Ever since then, there's been somewhat toxic political wrangling about what to do about all of this.
But at the end of the day, when you think about the sentiment of the city as a whole, you think of, we're still in a town that has had various issues of racism, and that's from at the city level, it's at the school level, it's the neighborhood level, you know, you have all of this, yet it's a beautiful beach town, and if you don't acknowledge those things and you continue to bury them under the sand, you're gonna get that Santa Ana wind come in and woo, blow it all away. And what do we see? We see everything that was hidden.
Yeah, one thing that's important to remember about police reform is that historically, the need for police reform has been driven by the relationship between police and Black and Latinx people. And this has gone on for many decades. And consequently, if you're a white, affluent, privileged person, like a large percentage of Santa Monica residents, police reform may not be top of mind.
Come to the community, because right now, our community, Black and brown, they don't want to talk to the police. They don't want to interact because it's always been where they don't receive. The police lock, you know, they come with this wall of protection or this wall, you know, where they don't have to hear. And then even if the community helps to push a communication, their police officers association blocks it or their union blocks it. I mean, they have all this protection around them. And, you know, the community, I feel, has no protection.
Community participation in particular in policing in cities is essential. There are many people who've been working for decades on reform. There have been incidents going back decades. There's been efforts to establish police oversight. So in 2020, there was more energy around getting something going. And so there was this moment in time coming off of the protests where the department is stressed. All of these problems are revealed all at once on the same day. The leadership of the city is focused and they can say, yes, we have to do something about it. Finally, after 30 years of trying, we're gonna put in civilian oversight and get going on actually just having discussions with the community about the issues so that we can figure out what to do.
What took place for me on May 31st at the corner of 4th and Santa Monica Boulevard in the middle of the chaos, I was trapped right in the middle of all that was going on. The looting, the violence, and so forth. And I was really traumatized by what was going on, that was taking place at that time. And matter of fact, just thinking about it right now, I'm just experiencing that trauma. However, one of my main concerns with all that was going on was being Black. And sure enough, as I was crossing the street in the intersection, the police officer raised his rifle. And I was walking and something said, turn around. And then I saw the other officer, which I call the good officer, slowly and gently put his hands on top of the other officer and put his hand down. And I turned around and said, what are you going to do? Were you planning on shooting me? And that was something I'll never forget.
The committee, and I'm talking about the original Public Safety Reform and Oversight Committee, after a series of interviews and testimonies and deep down dives with the police department. And again, we had 2 members of the police department on our committee. We met with the chief, we met with the city manager, the city attorney. So we learned the ins and outs and workings of Santa Monica Police Department. We created a 44-page document of recommendations.
The peak of the reform effort in Santa Monica was September 8th, 2020, the City Council meeting, where the Community Advisory Committee had presented its recommendations on all of the things that we proposed be done to make policing better in Santa Monica. And I was elated because the City Council voted unanimously to adopt our proposals.
And through that, what the first and main recommendation is to create an oversight commission. Like, that was the thing. And, you know, some of the people in the committee, you know, wanted to work on it and others didn't, because it was a lot. It was a lot of emotion, it was a lot of passion within that committee to do the good work.
Since that time, there's been delay, interference, undue influence. It's been starved for resources. And there was a shift in City Council, which changed the leadership's interest and motivation to actually do the things that the City Council instructed the city to do. I think a lot more should be getting done, advancing civilian oversight and taking a close look at all the public safety issues and making whatever changes are necessary in Santa Monica. The people who care about that in Santa Monica, the people who regularly vote for what they claim to be liberal or progressive causes, need to spend more time and give more attention to this issue.
Is Santa Monica progressive? I don't think that they're ready for true reform as much as they say they are, which is sad, because if you create an oversight commission to specifically look at things, I think the ideal way to show that you're on board is to be open for change.
We should be about genuine reform. We should be about meaningful civilian oversight. That's what our city needs. That's what cities throughout America need. And I hope that Santa Monica can be a place that can figure out how to make that all work and become real, and not just words, but something that the community can rely on.
You know what's right. Just do the right thing. But it doesn't happen. And until that happens, I'm very concerned, and really concerned that there'll be more George Floyds, more Breonna Taylor, more of the same for Black people. Because I'm African American, that's what I can really speak to, because that's what I know best. And I don't want to see that. I don't think it doesn't have to be.
I've often been surprised throughout my life at the way things unfold. And in Santa Monica, I've been surprised once again, because I've always thought of Santa Monica as an open place that's very accepting, that cares about people, and would readily want to lead the way on police reform. And I'm surprised at how things have turned out so far. Because if progressive-minded people can't get police reform done in Santa Monica, then what does that say about the rest of our country?